I spent several days organizing the buffet and setting up the tents for my daughter-in-law's birthday, which was to be celebrated at my own summer house. But on the day of the event, my name was simply not on the guest list. My hands were trembling as I held the phone against my ear. From my car, parked half a block away, I could see the golden lights illuminating my garden, hear the music booming from my terrace, and observe the silhouettes of 120 people toasting in my house on the lake. The police dispatch answered on the third ring. "Good evening, this is Lucille Marie Solis speaking." My voice sounded steadier than I expected. "I am the owner of the house located at 847 Lakeview Drive. There are people holding an event on my property without my consent." I hung up, and in the silence that followed, something inside me finally broke. Or perhaps finally it put itself back together. How did I get here? How is it possible that a 67-year-old woman, a widow, a dedicated mother, ends up calling the police to evict her own daughter-in-law's birthday party? The answer is not simple. It never is when it comes to family. This started 3 weeks ago, when Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, called me with that sweet voice she only uses when she needs something. My son Ryan had been married to her for 2 years, in which I had tried with all my might to build a bridge between us. She always kept her distance as if I were an annoying stranger instead of the mother of the man she supposedly loved. But that afternoon in October, her tone was different, almost warm. "Mom, do you have a moment?" she asked. I was in my apartment in the city, the one where I had raised Ryan alone while my husband Ernest worked double shifts to pay for tuition. The same place full of photographs where my son smiled in his elementary school uniform, where we celebrated his graduation, where I cried 3 years ago, when Ernest's heart decided it had worked enough. "Of course, Vanessa, tell me." There was a pause. I could imagine her adjusting her hair, that gesture she made when she was calculating her words. "It is just that, you know, my 35th birthday is coming up, and Ryan and I were thinking, your lake house is gorgeous. Do you think you could lend it to us to do something intimate? Something for family, you know?" My heart skipped a beat. Family, she had said. That meant I would be included. It meant a chance to get closer to show her that I was not the meddling mother-in-law she seemed to believe I was. "Of course," I replied, perhaps too quickly. "The house is for the family." I did not know that the word family meant something very different to her. I did not know I was affirming my own humiliation with that answer. I did not know that in 3 weeks I would be sitting in my car watching strangers toast in the garden I planted with my own hands, while I, the owner, the one who paid every penny of that celebration, did not even have a seat at the table. But we will get to that. First, let me tell you how I went from being the generous mother-in-law to the invisible woman, how I spent $5,000 of my savings decorating an event from which I was excluded, and how I discovered that sometimes silence is the most powerful weapon a mother can use. Because that night, when the patrol cars arrived with their blue and red lights reflecting on the lake, when the music stopped abruptly, and 120 guests were left with their glasses halfway to their lips, I finally recovered something more important than my house. I recovered my dignity. But before continuing, if you want to know how this story ended, subscribe to the channel. Because what happened next changed not only my life, but my son's life forever. That call from Vanessa came on a Tuesday afternoon, just when I was watering the pots of geraniums on my balcony. The October sky in the city had that pearl gray color that announces rain, and I was thinking of Ernest. I always thought of him on Tuesdays because Tuesdays were our day. The day we went to the local market, bought fresh produce, and he made me laugh with his impressions of the chili vendor. 3 years without him, and Tuesdays still hurt. When I saw Vanessa's name on the screen, I confess, I hesitated before answering. Our relationship was tense. She greeted me at family gatherings with kisses that did not touch my cheek, smiles that did not reach her eyes. Ryan always justified her coldness. "She is shy, Mom. Give her time." 2 years. I had given her 2 full years. "Mom." Her voice sounded different that afternoon, less distant. "I need to ask you for a huge favor." Now, I sat in the wicker rocking chair that Ernest gave me on our 20th anniversary. My heart, foolish and hopeful, began to beat faster. "Tell me, daughter." I called her daughter. How naive I was. "You know that on November 28th I turned 35, she continued, "and Ryan wants to do something special for me. We thought about your lake house. That place is magical, facing the water with the garden so beautiful. It would be perfect for an intimate celebration." "Intimate," she repeated. "Family," she added later. I clung to those words like a castaway to a life raft. The lake house was not just a property. It was the dream that Ernest and I built brick by brick. He worked as an engineer in a construction company, 14-hour shifts, Saturdays included. I gave sewing classes at home to help with expenses. For 15 years, we saved every possible dollar. When we finally bought that land facing the lake in 2005, we cried holding each other watching the sunset. We built the house little by little. First the basic structure, then the large windows that Ernest designed so that all the light from the lake would enter. Then the garden where I planted bougainvilleas, jacarandas, and that coral rose bush that bloomed every spring. It was worth a fortune now, but for me it was priceless. Of course, Vanessa, I replied, feeling that warmth in my chest that hope gives. "The house is for the family. How many people are you calculating?" "Oh, well, something small, Mom, intimate. Maybe 20, 30 people maximum." 30 people. It sounded reasonable, manageable. "Perfect. Do you need help with anything? Do you want me to go a few days before to prepare the house?" There was a brief pause. Afterward, her voice changed subtly. She adopted that tone I would later learn to recognize the tone of someone who is getting exactly what they want. "Oh, Mom, you are so sweet. Look if it is not too much trouble. Do you know any good catering service over there? It is just that you have more experience in these things." More experience? Code for older. "I know several," I replied, ignoring the sting. "Let me make some calls." "You are a sweetheart. And hey, do you know anyone who rents tents? It is just that if it rains, you know." "I will handle it, do not worry." And flowers, right. Something elegant, but not so classic. You understand me. Every request came wrapped in telephone smiles. I accepted them, all thinking I was building something, a relationship, a complicity of family women. How blind I was. That night I called Ryan, my son, my only son. The reason I endured years of loneliness while Ernest worked. The reason I sewed school uniforms until my fingers hurt. "Son, what a joy that you are having Vanessa's party at the house. It is going to be very nice." "Yes, Mom." His voice sounded tired, distracted. "Thanks for lending it." "It is not lending Ryan. It is sharing what is ours." "Sure, Mom. Hey, I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Talk tomorrow." He hung up before I could tell him I loved him. That should have been my first sign. Ryan never had time anymore. Since he married Vanessa, our conversations were reduced to rushed calls, family meals where he checked his cell phone more than my face. She had him completely absorbed, but I kept waiting for things to get better, waiting to be included. The following days were a whirlwind. I contacted 3 catering services. Compared prices, chose the menu barbecue brisket, pulled chicken sliders, pasta salad, garden rice. Nothing too sophisticated, but tasty homemade. Real food. Then the tents. Vanessa wanted white ones, elegant. I found them 3 large tents, metal structure chiffon curtains. $1,000. The flowers were more complicated. Not so classic, she had said. I hired a florist from the next town over who worked with coral roses, white hydrangeas, and dark green foliage. Arrangements for the table's garlands to hang. Everything was adding up. But I was not keeping count yet. I was too busy dreaming of the moment when Vanessa would hug me and say, "Thanks, Mom, I do not know what we would do without you." The problem with dreams is that sometimes they blind us to reality, and reality was about to hit me harder than I ever imagined. The Friday before the event, I drove the 2 hours from the city to the lake with my SUV loaded with cleaning products, clean sheets, and 3 suitcases. I had asked for a week off at the school where I taught embroidery workshops to ladies in the neighborhood. I did not earn much, but since Ernest died, that money was my independence. Vanessa had insisted that I arrive early. To coordinate everything, Mom. You know the house better than anyone. When I opened the front door, the musty smell hit me. The house had gone 3 months without being used. The windows had that film of dust that time leaves cobwebs decorated the corners of the ceiling and the garden. Oh, my garden was neglected with the bougainvilleas growing out of control and dry leaves covering the grass. I rolled up my sleeves and started. First I swept, then I mopped. I cleaned window by window with vinegar and newspaper as my mother taught me. I shook out the curtains, aired out, the rooms, changed the sheets in the 4 bedrooms. My knees protested every time I bent down. Age does not forgive, but I kept going. The garden was the heaviest part. I pruned the bougainvilleas, raked the leaves, cut the grass with the old mower that rattled at every turn. When I finished, my hands were full of blisters, and my back burned as if needles had been stuck in me. But it looked beautiful. Like when Ernest and I came on weekends, sat on the terrace with coffee and sweet bread, watching the sun rise over the lake. Vanessa arrived on Saturday morning in her white BMW. She was wearing huge dark glasses, an ivory silk blouse, and those jeans that cost more than my entire paycheck. Ryan was driving with that face of exhaustion that was already permanent on him. "Mom," Vanessa said, entering without greeting properly. "Let me see how everything is going." She toured the house with a critical gaze. She ran her finger along the living room shelf, checked the bathrooms, went out to the garden. I followed her like a lapdog, waiting for a word of approval. "The bougainvilleas are very overgrown," she commented, frowning. "They give it an air like rustic. But well, there is no time to change that anymore." Rustic. The bougainvilleas I planted with my hands 15 years ago were rustic. "And the house smells a little old, does not it?" she added, wrinkling her nose. "Do you have any air freshener?" Ryan did not even look at me. He was glued to his phone, writing messages. "I am going to buy scented candles in town," I replied, swallowing the humiliation. "Perfect. Lavender or vanilla. Nothing too strong." During the next 3 days, Vanessa turned me into her personal assistant. Every morning she arrived with new demands. "Mom, can you contact someone to install lights in the trees? I need the garden to look magical at night." I contacted an electrician. He installed hundreds of little white lights in the jacarandas and the weeping willows. $700. And the sound system. We need something professional, not just any speaker. I rented complete equipment. Console speakers, wireless microphone, $500. The tables. "Oh, Mom, do you think they could have linen tablecloths? The plastic ones look so cheap." I bought 15 white linen tablecloths at a store in the town center. $300. Every expense was paid by me. Vanessa never offered $1. She assumed I did it with pleasure, that it was my contribution to my son's happiness. And maybe it was, or maybe I was a fool trying to buy affection. Tuesday came, and the tent service arrived. 3 elegant white structures rose in my garden with chiffon curtains waving in the lake breeze. It looked like a magazine wedding setting. Vanessa supervised every detail with her phone held high, taking photos for Instagram. I saw her post one, preparing something magical. No mention that it was my house. No thanks. Wednesday, the flowers arrived. Coral roses, white hydrangeas, eucalyptus. The florist was an artist. She created arrangements that looked like pink clouds floating over the tables. Vanessa inspected them with a critical eye. "They are pretty," she said finally, "although a little classic, but well, they are already here." Classic. Again that word. Code for old, outdated, from your generation, not mine. "I am glad you like them." I lied, smiling. That night, while I was preparing dinner in the kitchen, tortilla soup and roast chicken, I heard Vanessa talking on the phone on the terrace. Her voice cut through the open window. "No, everything is ready. Yes, the house is divine. Well, it is kind of rustic, but with the decoration, it is hidden. The lady really got her act together, honestly." The lady, that is what she called me when I was not present. "Obviously, it did not cost me anything," she continued laughing. "It is my mother-in-law's house. She took care of everything. I only supervised." My hand stopped over the onion I was chopping. The knife trembled slightly. I know. But well, that is how old ladies are. They like to feel useful, right useful. Like a tool, like an object. I swallowed the lump in my throat and kept chopping onion, although the tears running down my cheeks were not just from the spice. Ryan entered the kitchen at that moment looking for a glass of water. He saw me crying. "Are you okay, Mom?" "Yes, son, it is the onion." He nodded absently. He took the water and left without asking more. He had stopped seeing me a long time ago. His wife had made sure of that. Thursday night, 2 days before the event, Vanessa gathered everyone in the living room. Ryan, me, and the catering coordinator. She spread a printed list on the coffee table. "Okay, let's go over the final details," she said in an executive tone. "On Saturday, guests arrive at 6 in the evening. The buffet opens at 7. Toast at 8. DJ starts at 9. I nodded, memorizing every detail of my own house. "How many confirmed are there?" asked the coordinator. 120 people. I froze. 120, I repeated. "I thought you said 30. Vanessa looked at me as if I were stupid. "Oh, Mom, that was the initial estimate. But you know how these things are. Word gets around." 120 people in my house that I cleaned, decorated, prepared. "And is there enough space?" I asked weakly. "With the tents, yes. Do not worry. Do not worry," as if I were the guest, not the owner. That night, I could not sleep. I stayed in the hammock in the garden, watching the little lights in the trees, listening to the lake water hit softly against the shore. 120 people I did not know would come to celebrate in my house, and I still did not know what role I played in all this, but I was about to find out, and when I did, something inside me would break forever. Friday dawned with fog over the lake. From the window of my bedroom, the smallest one because the other 3 were reserved for important guests, according to Vanessa, I watched the sun try to break through that gray curtain. My whole body hurt. 5 days of work without rest were taking their toll, but there was little left. Just one more day and everything would have been worth it, or so I believed. I went down to make coffee. The house smelled of the lavender candles I had bought, mixed with the scent of freshly cut grass coming through the windows. Everything was ready. The tents installed the tables, arranged the flowers in their vases, the sound system tested. Vanessa came down past 10 in peach-colored satin pajamas and with her hair tied in a perfect ponytail. Not even just waking up did she look disheveled. I, on the other hand, was wearing the same gray sweatpants from 3 days ago and a blouse stained with dirt. "Good morning, Mom," she said, pouring coffee into the porcelain cup that had belonged to my mother. "Today the event coordinator is coming for the final review. She will arrive around 12. "Coordinator?" I asked, surprised. "I did not know you had hired one." "Oh, yes. It is just that with so many details, I need someone professional to supervise the day of the event. Her name is Monica. She is great. She manages events of 500 people. 500 people, as if 120 were not enough of a circus for my house. "Sure," I murmured, feeling a strange emptiness in my stomach. Monica arrived promptly at noon. She brought a tablet, a folder with documents, and that efficient smile of someone who charges by the hour. She was young, maybe 30 years old, with heels that sank into my grass. "Nice to meet you, ma'am." She greeted me briefly before turning completely toward Vanessa. "Okay, Vane, let's review everything." Vane. She called her Vane. Vanessa hated nicknames, but with this woman, she smiled delighted. I followed them as she toured the garden. Monica took notes on her tablet, nodded, made suggestions about the flow of guests, the location of the DJ, the timing of the buffet. "Perfect," she said finally. "Now let's confirm the final guest list. Did you bring the updated spreadsheet? Here it is." Vanessa handed her phone. Monica started reading names out loud while Vanessa confirmed. I was watering the geranium pots near them, half listening. Names I did not know. Andrea, Sebastian, the Mendozas, the Garzas, Paulina and her husband, the photographer Daniel. "And immediate family?" Monica asked. "My mom and dad, obviously. My 2 sisters with their husbands. My cousin Renata from Ryan's side. Well, just him and that is it." My hand stopped over the watering can. "Just him?" asked Monica, looking up. "Yes, Ryan does not have much family. His dad passed away and his mom is here right—" Monica interrupted, pointing at me with her head. The silence that followed lasted barely 3 seconds, but it felt eternal. "Oh no," said Vanessa with a light laugh, like someone correcting an unimportant error. "She is not on the guest list." The watering can slipped from my hands. It fell onto the grass with a thud. "Excuse me." Monica seemed genuinely confused. "It is just that it is a high-profile event. Do you understand me? Pure young people, influencers, work contacts. The lady has already fulfilled her function, helping me with the coordination." Already fulfilled her function, as if she were a temporary employee, as if my work here had ended. But Monica looked at me uncomfortable. "She is the owner of the house, isn't she?" "Yes, but she understands." Vanessa did not even turn to look at me. "Right, Mom. You understand that we need a certain atmosphere, a certain vibe. Do not be offended, but it is just that the people coming are very specific. Specific. Code for young. Code for... You do not fit." I stood there with my hands dirty with earth, my blouse stained with sweat, feeling like something was crumbling inside me. 120 people would come tomorrow to my house, the house that I cleaned, decorated, prepared the house for which I paid $5,000 in tents, flowers, sound systems, and linen tablecloths, and I was not invited. "I understand," I said finally with a voice I did not recognize as mine. Vanessa smiled, relieved. "I knew you would understand. You are a sweetheart, Mom." Monica kept looking at me with a mixture of pity and discomfort. She pretended to check something on her tablet. "Well then, the list remains at 119 people," she said in a low voice. "Perfect." Vanessa put away her phone. "Mom, can you bring us some water? It is terribly hot." She asked me for water like the maid. I entered the house with mechanical steps. In the kitchen, I leaned against the sink and closed my eyes. The tears threatened to come out, but I swallowed them. Not here. Not now. When I returned with the water, Vanessa and Monica were already reviewing other details. The moment of the toast, the DJ's playlist, the angles for the photographs. "Oh, and one more thing," Vanessa said. "Tomorrow night, when the event is over, the lady can come back to pick everything up on Sunday. Right, Mom? There is no rush." She did not even wait for my answer. That afternoon when Monica left, I looked for Ryan. I found him on the terrace checking his laptop. He worked in a digital marketing firm, always glued to the screen, always solving emergencies. "Son," my voice came out trembling. "I need to talk to you." "Tell me, Mom," he replied without looking up. "Is it true that I am not invited to the party?" His fingers stopped over the keyboard. Finally, he looked at me. "Mom," he sighed, closing the laptop. "It is complicated." "Complicated, Ryan, it is my house." I know, but Vanessa, she has a specific vision for her birthday. She wants something sophisticated with her people. It is not personal." "It is not personal," I repeated, feeling how rage was starting to replace the pain. "I spent $5,000 on this event. I worked like a donkey all week, and it is not personal." "Mom, please." He rubbed his temples. "Do not make a scene. Understand she wants only the closest ones." The closest ones. My son had just told me that I was not one of the closest ones. He looked at me with those eyes that used to see me as his hero, as the woman who took care of him when he had chicken pox at 6 years old, who taught him to ride a bicycle, who sold my grandmother's jewelry to pay for his college. Now he looked at me like a nuisance. "Exactly as she ordered you," I whispered. "What nothing? Nothing, son." I turned around before he saw the tears. That night, lying in my small bedroom, I heard Vanessa and Ryan laughing on the terrace. They were toasting with wine, celebrating in anticipation. I picked up my phone. My fingers trembled as I searched the contacts. I did not call anyone yet, but I found a number I had saved years ago when I processed the house papers. Municipal Police Dispatch. I saved it on speed dial, and something inside me, something that had remained asleep for 67 years, woke up. Not with a scream, but with a cold and determined whisper. "Tomorrow," I thought. "Tomorrow we will see who fulfilled their function." I woke up at 5 in the morning on Saturday, not because the alarm rang, but because my body could no longer pretend to sleep. I had spent the night tossing and turning in bed, with my stomach churning and a constant buzzing in my ears. Outside, the lake was dawning calm. The white tents shone with the morning dew. Everything was ready for the celebration, everything except my heart. I made coffee in the silent kitchen. My hands trembled, holding the cup. I still could not process what I had heard yesterday. She is not on the guest list. At what moment did I become invisible to my own son? Ryan came down past 7, already showered and wearing a sky blue shirt that I had given him for his last birthday. He looked handsome, rested as if nothing in the world weighed on him. "Good morning, Mom," he said, pouring himself coffee. I observed him in silence. 39 years old. My baby who was born on a rainy Tuesday in March. The boy who hugged my legs when he had nightmares. The teenager who confessed his first love to me while we ate churros in the park. Where was that Ryan son? I began leaving the cup on the table. "I need you to tell me the truth without lies, without beating around the bush." He looked at me cautiously like someone detecting danger. "Truth about what? Am I invited to this party or not?" The silence stretched. I saw how he swallowed saliva, how he diverted his gaze toward the window, toward the garden, anywhere but my eyes. "Mom, we already talked about this yesterday." "No, Ryan. You told me not to make a scene, but you did not answer me. So I am asking you again. Am I invited?" His shoulders slumped slightly. I recognized that gesture. He had done it since he was a child, when he knew he had done something wrong but did not want to admit it. "It is complicated," he murmured. "Stop saying it is complicated, yes or no." Vanessa. She has a very specific idea of how she wants her party. And in that idea, there is no space for the owner of the house. "It is not like that, Mom. Do not take it personally." That I do not take it personally. My voice rose without me being able to control it. "Ryan, I have been working like crazy for a week. I spent $5,000, $5,000 of my savings, and you tell me not to take it personally." He rubbed his face with both hands. I knew that gesture too. He did it when he wanted to escape an uncomfortable conversation. "Vanessa wants something exclusive, Mom. Sophisticated. Only people from her circle. Important contacts, influencers, business owners." "And I do not qualify." "I did not say that. You did not have to do it." He got up from the table, restless. He started walking around the kitchen aimlessly with his hands in his pockets. "Mom, please understand. It is her birthday, her special day. She has the right to decide who she celebrates with. In my house," I repeated, feeling how every word came out like a stone. "Or did you already forget whose property this is?" "Of course I do not forget. That is why we are thanking you." "Thanking by excluding me. It is not exclusion. It is just—" He searched for the words, desperate. "It is just that you do not fit the profile of the event." There it was. The the truth, naked and cruel. I did not fit. I, Lucille Marie Solis, who gave birth to this man amidst pains that split the soul, who breastfed him for a year, who stayed up all night when he had a fever of 104 degrees, who sold my sewing machine to buy him his first computer. I did not fit in his life. Event profile, I repeated slowly. And what is that profile? Ryan people who do not have gray hair, people who wear designer clothes, people who do not have age spots on their hands. Mom, do not exaggerate. I am not exaggerating. I hit the table with my open palm. The coffee spilled. Your wife told me yesterday in front of a stranger that I already fulfilled my function. Do you know what that means? That I am disposable. She did not mean that. Oh no, and what did she mean then? Enlighten me, son, because I understood perfectly. Ryan remained silent. For the first time in the conversation, he seemed to really listen to me. I saw something similar to guilt cross his face. Mom, what you agree with her. The pause was answer enough. I cannot contradict her in everything, he said finally with a weak voice. She is my wife, and I am your mother. I know. Do you know? Because it does not seem like it. It seems like I am the annoying neighbor who got in where she was not called. He approached me, tried to take my hand. I pulled away. Mom, please, I do not want to fight with you, least of all today. Vanessa is nervous. I am stressed with work. I just need this to go well. Okay, please. There he was again, the scared child, asking me not to make trouble, to stay quiet, to accept my place. My place. What was my place now? The storage room where they keep old things that are no longer useful but are too shameful to throw away. And then what, Ryan? I asked with a calm that surprised me. After today, would I go back to being your mom, or did I already learn my lesson to stay in my corner? Of course you are still my mom. Do not talk nonsense. Then prove it to me. Tell Vanessa that I am invited, that it is my house, and that I have the right to be here. His face closed immediately, like a security door. I cannot do that. You cannot or you do not want to. Both, he admitted, and something in his brutal honesty hurt me more than any lie. Mom, if I do that, Vanessa is going to cancel everything. She is going to cause a huge drama. She is going to what? Stop talking to you. Make your life impossible. He did not answer. He did not need to. I see, I said softly. Are you afraid of her? I am not afraid of her. I just want to keep the peace. The peace, I repeated bitterly. And my peace, son? Does that not count? Vanessa appeared at that moment in the kitchen door in a champagne-colored silk robe and her loose hair falling over her shoulders. She looked at us both with that expression I already knew, annoyance barely disguised. Is something wrong? She asked with false sweetness. I heard you talking loudly. Nothing, Ryan replied quickly. We were just coordinating details. Liar. My son had become a liar. Vanessa smiled at me, that smile that did not reach her eyes. Oh, Mom, thanks for getting up early. Did you already check that everything is in order outside? It is just that in a few hours the catering service arrives and I need everything to be impeccable. She was giving me orders. In my house. Everything is in order, I replied with a neutral voice. Perfect. And hey, one more little thing. Could you, I do not know, maybe go to town in the afternoon? It is just that some guests are going to arrive early, and I prefer to receive without distractions. Distractions. I was a distraction in my own house. Ryan looked at the floor. Coward. Sure, I said. I will go. Vanessa seemed genuinely relieved. You are a sweetheart, Mom. Honestly, I do not know what we would do without you. Without me. What irony, they knew perfectly well what they would do without me. Nothing. Because without my house, without my money, without my work, this party would not exist. but I existed to serve, not to be served. I went up to my bedroom with slow steps. I closed the door and sat on the bed. I picked up my phone, opened the contact list. There it was, police dispatch. My fingers stayed suspended over the call button. Was I really going to do this? I looked around. This small bedroom with the peach-colored walls I painted with earnest one hot summer. The window from where the lake could be seen. The cotton curtains I sewed by hand. This was my house, my refuge. My dream came true. And they were kicking me out. I put the phone away. Not yet, but soon. Very soon. I stayed in that bedroom until 9 in the morning, watching the ceiling, counting the cracks that time had left in the plaster. 23 cracks. I had counted them 1,000 times before, but today each one seemed like an open wound in my own chest. The movement of the house brought me out of the trance. I heard rushed steps, voices giving instructions, the sound of trucks arriving. The army of vendors was beginning to take position. I got up. I looked at myself in the vanity mirror. A 67-year-old woman stared back at me. Deep, dark circles, disheveled gray hair, wrinkled blouse. When did I become this someone who did not deserve to be in her own house? I went down because I could not stay locked up. I needed to see. I needed to understand how far my own humiliation went. The garden was an anthill. The catering team, 8 people uniformed in black, was unloading trays, silverware, glassware. The DJ was setting up his equipment under the main tent. 2 girls were arranging chairs with white covers around the tables. And there, in the middle of everything, was Vanessa. But not the robe-wearing Vanessa I saw in the mornings. This was another version. Fitted white dress hair, styled in perfect waves, impeccable makeup. She held an iPad and directed everyone like a general on a battlefield. No, the tables go further apart. I need space for people to circulate. She ordered. And the candles? Where are the candles? I said gold votives, not silver. No one saw me arrive. I was like a ghost in my own house. I approached the tents. The floral arrangements that had arrived yesterday were now distributed on every table. Coral roses, white hydrangeas, green foliage. They looked beautiful under the morning light. I touched a rose softly. "Careful, ma'am," one of the service girls told me. The bride asked that no one touch the flowers. The bride. That is what they called Vanessa. "I am the owner of the house," I replied quietly. The girl blinked, confused. "Oh, sorry, it is just that I thought..." "Well, Mrs. Vanessa said she organized everything." Of course she said that. I walked toward the kitchen. I needed water. I needed air. I needed my chest to stop tightening like this. Ryan was there talking on the phone with someone from work. Upon seeing me, he cut the call. "Mom, did you have breakfast yet?" As if nothing had happened, as if this morning had not destroyed my heart. "I am not hungry. You should eat something." "Ryan, are we really going to pretend everything is fine?" He sighed. That tired sigh that I could no longer stand. "Mom, do not start again, please." "I am not starting anything. I am just existing. Sorry if that bothers you." "It does not bother me that you exist," he said, lowering his voice. "It bothers me that you make this so difficult." "I make it difficult, I who cleaned this house until my hands were raw, I who spent my savings, I who..." "I know, Mom. I know everything you did. And I thank you. What else do you want me to say?" I wanted him to say, "It is unfair, and I am going to fix it." I wanted him to say, "You are my mother, and you are going to be at this party because you deserve it." I wanted him to say, "Forgive me." But he said none of that. "Nothing," I replied. "I do not want you to say anything." I left the kitchen before he saw the tears. The following hours were torture. I moved through the house like a shadow, watching my space transform into someone else's dream scenario. At 2 in the afternoon, the photographer arrived, a young guy with a trimmed beard and a professional camera hanging from his neck. I saw him taking photos of every corner. The tents, the tables, the lake in the background, the little lights in the trees. "Incredible location," he commented to Vanessa. "Is it your family's?" "My mother-in-law's," she replied with a casual tone. "But basically, it is like our weekend house." Basically. As if the papers were not in my name. As if Ernest and I had not paid every penny of this property. The photographer took some papers out of his backpack. "I need you to sign the contract. It is $2,000 for the complete package. 6 hours of coverage, 300 edited photos, and a summary video. $2,000. More expenses I did not know about." Vanessa signed with ease. Then she put the contract in a folder she had on the dining room table. When she went out to the garden, something compelled me to approach that folder. I do not know if it was curiosity, intuition, or a simple need to confirm my worst suspicions. I opened it. Inside were several documents, quotes from the DJ, $1,000, from the catering service, $4,000, from the premium bar, $2,500. They added up to obscene amounts, but what left me frozen was another paper, an application for a permit for an event in a private home that Vanessa had filled out for the municipality. In the space for the property address was the correct address, 847 Lakeview Drive, but in the space for the owner responsible for the event, it did not say my name. It said Vanessa Ochoa Martinez, personal residence. Personal residence. My house was her personal residence. My hands trembled holding that paper. I reread it 3 times thinking I had misunderstood, but no. There it was in black ink. She had presented herself to the authorities as the owner of this property. "What are you doing?" Vanessa's voice startled me. She was at the dining room door with her arms crossed and an expression of annoyance. I had no excuse. I saw the folder open. "Those are private documents." "Of my house," I replied, showing her the paper. "Why did you put yourself as the owner?" Vanessa rolled her eyes, literally rolled her eyes like a contrary teenager. "Oh, Mom, it is just a technicality. For the event permit, they needed a responsible party, and well, Ryan told me to put my details, but it is not your house." "I know it is not my house," she said with a tone of impatience. "But it was easier that way. Less paperwork. Less paperwork." She was erasing my existence from my property for less paperwork. "Vanessa, this is not right. Do you know that this is not right, mother-in-law?" She took a step toward me and her voice changed. It turned cold. "That you are snooping through my things. That you are here all day watching, judging. You already did your part. Why do you not just relax and let me enjoy my day?" Her day. In my house. With my money. With my effort. "Because this is my house," I said with a trembling voice, "and I have a right to be here." "Nobody is saying you do not have a right," she replied, softening her tone but without any warmth. "I am just saying that maybe it would be more comfortable for everyone if— I do not know. You go for a drive around town. Go to the mall. Buy yourself something nice. Come back tomorrow when this is all over." She was kicking me out. Without saying it explicitly, she was throwing me out of my own home. "I need to speak with Ryan." "Ryan agrees with me," she said quickly. In fact, it was his idea. A lie. It had to be a lie. But when I looked for my son, I found him in the garden supervising the installation of the open bar, and I asked him. Sue's silence confirmed it. "Mom, it would just be easier." I did not let him finish. I turned around and went up to my bedroom. There, sitting on the edge of the bed with the photographer's contract still in my hands, something broke definitively. It was not a dramatic break. It was silent. Like when a dry branch finally gives way after bearing too much weight. I took out my phone. I searched on the internet. Use of private property without owner consent. The results spoke of criminal trespassing, unauthorized use of real estate invasion of property. I searched for more. Events without owner permission, fines, sanctions, immediate eviction by authorities. I looked at the time. 3:30 in the afternoon. The guests would arrive at 6. I still had time. I opened the photo folder on my phone. There were the deeds to the house that I had photographed months ago when I updated the property insurance. My full name, Linda Solis, sole owner. After that, I opened my messages. I looked for the contact of my lawyer, Mr. Oakley, who had helped me with the will after Ernest died. I wrote, "Mr. Oakley, I need to consult you about something urgent. Do you have a moment?" He responded in 2 minutes. "Of course, Mrs. Linda. What do you need?" My fingers flew over the keyboard. I explained everything to him. The party, the exclusion, the fake document where Valerie listed herself as the owner. His response was immediate. "That is fraudulent. And if she is using your property for an event without your explicit written consent, technically she is trespassing. Did you sign anything authorizing this event?" "No, I wrote. Nothing in writing." "Then you have every right to revoke verbal permission at any time, even during the event." "Do you need me to draft something?" I stared at that question. Did I need him to draft something I needed to recover my dignity? I needed my son to open his eyes. I needed Valerie to understand that she could not erase me from my own life. "Not for now," I replied. "Thank you, Mr. Oakley." I put the phone away. 5:15. In 45 minutes, the guests would start to arrive. I changed my clothes. I put on a simple burgundy cotton dress. I pulled my hair back. I put on the pearl earrings that Ernest gave me on our 20th anniversary. I looked at myself in the mirror. "You have 2 options," I told myself. "Do you leave with your tail between your legs, or do you stay and fight?" Ernest always said that I was stronger than I believed, that I had a temper of steel beneath that appearance of a quiet lady. It was time to prove it. I went downstairs with my purse in hand. Valerie saw me from the terrace and smiled, relieved to see me ready to leave. I did not return the smile. I got into my car and pulled it out of the garage, but I did not go to town. I drove half a block and parked under a weeping willow with a perfect view of the entrance to my house. And I waited, like a predator waits for the prey to lower its guard, because tonight, Valerie and Ryan were going to learn something I had been keeping to myself for 67 years, that older women are not invisible. We are invisible only until we decide to stop being so. From my car under the shade of the weeping willow, I watched as my house transformed into a movie set. The lights started to turn on at 5:30. First the ones in the trees, then the ones lining the stone path. Finally, the floodlights strategically placed that made the white tents shine like illuminated clouds. It was beautiful, painfully beautiful. I took out my phone and dialed Mr. Oakley again. I needed to be sure, completely sure. "Tell me, Mrs. Linda," he answered on the second ring. "Mr. Oakley, sorry to bother you again, but I need you to confirm something for me. If I withdraw permission to use my house during an event, what would happen exactly?" I heard papers moving on the other end. "Legally, you are within your full rights. It is your property. If there is no signed lease agreement nor written authorization, anyone inside the property is there under your verbal tolerance. If you withdraw that tolerance, they become trespassers. Even if they are family. Even if they are family. The law does not distinguish. Private property is private property." I closed my eyes. My heart was beating so hard I felt the pulse in my temples. "And if I call the police, they would have to attend. You would present identification, show the deeds, and they would have to evict the event. Besides," he paused, "if there is an event with more than 50 people and they do not have the corresponding permits from the fire marshal, that is another infraction." Fire marshal permits, of course. For massive events, it is required that the fire department inspects the facilities, that there are sufficient fire extinguishers marked emergency exits, a first aid kit. Do they have that? I thought about the tents, about the 120 people who would come about the improvised electrical system, for the lights, and the DJ. "I do not know," I admitted. "If they do not have them, the fine can be considerable. Between $2,000 and $3,000, depending on the county." $3,000. added to the $5,000 that I had spent, plus the $2,000 for the photographer, plus whatever Valerie had paid for the DJ and the premium bar. This party was going to cost more than $12,000, and she had listed my house as her personal residence on the document for the county. Mr. Oakley, one last question. If someone presents themselves to the county as the owner of a house that is not theirs, is that illegal? That is making a false statement. Depending on the use given, it can be considered fraud. Why do you ask? I told him about the document I found. I heard a low whistle on the other end of the line. Mrs. Linda, that is serious. Very serious. If she is using your property by presenting herself as the owner, it could even affect your taxes, your insurance, even the deed if at some point she tried what? To claim rights of possession. It is unlikely, but I have seen cases where someone lives long enough in another person's property and then claims rights. With false documents in the mix, everything gets complicated. My blood ran cold. Are you telling me I could lose my house? Not if you act now. That is why it is important that it is made clear with witnesses and authorities that you are the sole owner and that they are there without your formal consent. Witnesses, authorities. 120 witnesses would arrive in less than 30 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Oakley. You helped me a lot. Are you going to do something, Mrs. Linda? I still do not know, but if I do, it will be legal. Completely legal. That is my client, he said with an approving tone. Anything you need, call me. I will be available all night. I hung up. I opened the browser on my phone and searched for information about my own house. I wanted to know exactly what I had, what it was worth, what documents existed. I found the most recent appraisal. $450,000. The land alone was worth $300,000 for being lakefront. The construction, $150,000. I also searched the property tax payment history. Everything in my name, everything paid punctually for 20 years. Afterward, because I needed to know what I was dealing with, I searched for Valerie's Instagram profile. What I saw knocked the wind out of me. Her last post from just 2 hours ago was a photo of the tents set up in the garden. The caption said, "Preparing my dream house to celebrate life. Birthday weekend, lake house, blessed, my house." The comments were in the hundreds. "What a beautiful house you have, friend. Living by the lake is the dream. Invite me for a weekend." And Valerie responded to each one as if it were true, as if this house were hers. I checked her previous posts. I found more photos from the lake taken on the weekends that she and Ryan visited. One from the terrace with the water in the background. My happy place. Another in the garden. Home sweet home. Another one with a glass of wine. Weekend at the lake. In none of them did she mention me. In none did she give thanks that I lent them the house. For her 32,000 followers, this property belonged to her. And then I saw something else. A public conversation in the comments of a photo from a month ago. A certain Monica, the same event coordinator, had commented, "Beautiful weekend home Val. If you ever want to rent it for events, let me know. It would be the perfect location for weddings." And Valerie had responded, "Ha ha ha. I will think about it. For now, I only use it myself, but you never know. She used it. My house." I thought about Ernest, about how he worked until he literally died so that we could have this place, about the nights he arrived home with his hands destroyed from carrying materials, but smiling because we were one day closer to the dream. "This is for us, Linda," he used to say, "so that when we are old, we have a place to rest, where we can see our grandchildren play." Grandchildren that still did not exist because Valerie was not ready to be a mother, but she was ready to appropriate my husband's legacy. I looked at the time. 10 minutes to 6. The first cars were starting to arrive. A gray BMW, a black Audi, a white Mercedes. People got out of their cars with elegant dresses, heels, sinking into my gravel bottles of wine as gifts. Valerie received them at the door with a radiant smile, effusive hugs. Ryan was by her side with a white shirt and dress pants. He looked handsome. He looked happy. He looked like someone else's son. I took out my phone again. I opened the Notes app and started to write down everything I had spent. Tents $1,000. Flowers $1,500. Sound system $500. Electrician for lights $700. Linen tablecloths $300. Scented candles and decoration $200. Cleaning products and maintenance $150. Extra gardening service $300. Gas and tolls, 4 trips $400. Total around $5,000. $5,000 that came out of my savings account. The account where I kept the little I earned giving embroidery classes. The account that was my safety net since Ernest died. And they did not even know how much I had spent. They never asked. More cars arrived. The music started to play from the garden. Laughter, cheerful voices. I took out the phone and took photos. Of the cars filling my driveway, of the people in my garden, of the illuminated tents. Evidence. Afterward, I opened my contacts and looked for the number I had saved yesterday. County Sheriff's Department. My finger hovered over the call button. Was I really going to do this? I closed my eyes and saw Ernest's face. I saw him smiling the day we signed the deed to this house. I saw him painting the walls in his stained overalls. I saw him planting the first rose bush in the garden. It is our house, Linda. His voice sounded clear in my memory. Nobody is going to take it from us. I opened my eyes. Nobody is going to take it from us. I repeated out loud. I saved the number without dialing. Not yet. I waited. Because sometimes justice is not just a matter of laws. It is a matter of timing. At 7 in the evening, my house was a magazine postcard. From my car, I could see everything with painful clarity. The tents glowing like lighthouses in the dark. The silhouettes of people moving between the tables. The reflection of the lights dancing on the lake water. 120 people, maybe more. They kept arriving. An improvised valet parking. 2 boys in black vests directed the cars toward the parking lot that Ernest had paved with his own hands. I remembered that summer of 2008 when he spent 3 weeks under the scorching sun, mixing cement, leveling the ground, placing each paving stone. "So you have somewhere to park your little car, my queen," he had told me, kissing my sweaty forehead. Now strangers were parking their BMWs and Audis in that space. The music turned up in volume. I recognized the song, something electronic modern, nothing I knew. The type of music that Valerie listened to, the type of music that declared, "This is not for your generation." I rolled down the car window. The air smelled of honeysuckle mixed with the expensive perfumes of the guests. I heard fragments of conversations when someone passed nearby. "Incredible house. Did you see the lake? Valerie has exquisite taste. Man, I am dying to have a birthday like this." Valerie has. Valerie is. Valerie did. Nobody mentioned that the owner of that incredible house was sitting in her car half a block away watching like an intruder on her own property. At 7:30, the catering service started to circulate with trays. I saw canapes, skewers, glasses of champagne passing by. The menu I had chosen, sliders, shrimp cocktails, brisket, was conspicuous by its absence. Valerie had changed it without telling me, of course. I took my phone and started recording short videos. The driveway full of cars, the illuminated tents, the people toasting. I needed evidence of all this, of the size of the event, of the quantity of people. A group of women went out to the terrace with glasses in hand. One of them, blonde in a tight gold dress, shouted toward the lake, "This is living." The others laughed and toasted. Their laughter cut through the night like knives. Yes, I thought. This is living. Living on what others built. Celebrating without giving thanks. Existing without consequences. At 7:45, I saw Ryan go out to the terrace with a wireless microphone. The music went down. The people started to form a semicircle. I turned up the volume on my phone a little and opened the camera to record. I needed to hear this. "Good evening, everyone." My son's voice sounded happy, relaxed. Thank you for coming to celebrate the most important woman in my life. Every word was a stab. Valerie, my love. She appeared by his side, radiant in a champagne-colored dress that must have cost a fortune. 3 years ago, the day I met you, my life changed completely. You taught me to live differently, to dream bigger, not to settle for the ordinary. The ordinary. Like his mother, like his roots, like everything I represented. And today, in this very special place, he extended his arm pointing to the house. My house. I want you to know that everything I have is yours. My heart, my life, my future. Everything. Everything except his backbone, I thought bitterly. He lost that a while ago. The people applauded. Valerie covered her face with her hands in a gesture of false surprise. They kissed under the floodlights while the guests took out their cell phones to photograph the moment. The toast continued. More pretty words, more promises, more lies wrapped in velvet. Nobody mentioned who paid for the tents under which they stood. Nobody thanked the effort of the woman who left her hands destroyed cleaning so they could celebrate. Nobody remembered that an owner existed. I was a ghost. Worse than that, I was an uncomfortable memory they preferred to forget. At 8:30, the DJ played louder music. People started to dance. I saw Valerie in the center surrounded by friends who danced and screamed. Flashes of cell phones capturing every moment for Instagram. Ryan danced by her side with that smile I had not seen on him in years. My son was happy, without me. That was what hurt the most, not Valerie's betrayal. That was expected. But discovering that Ryan could be completely happy with my absence, that maybe he was even happier without me there, ruining the vibe with my old age, with my memories, with my mere existence. I looked at the time, 8:45. I took out the phone and opened my contacts. I looked for another number, one I had also saved days ago, County Fire Marshal. I dialed. A male voice answered. Professional. Fire Marshal's office, good evening? Good evening. My voice sounded surprisingly firm. I want to report a massive event without the corresponding permits. Can you take down the address? 847 Lakeview Drive. There are more than 100 people, tents installed with improvised electrical connections. They have no visible fire extinguishers nor emergency exit signage. Are you the owner of the property? Yes. And you did not authorize the event, pause. This was the decisive moment. Not in writing, and I want to revoke any verbal permission I may have given. Understood. We will send a unit to verify. Can you be present to identify yourself as the owner? I will be there in 10 minutes. I hung up. Then I dialed the sheriff's department. Sheriff's office. How can I help you? Good evening. This is Linda Solis. I am the owner of the house located at 847 Lakeview Drive. I took a deep breath. There are people holding an event on my property without my consent. I need you to send a patrol car. Are the people currently at the location? Yes, approximately 120. And are you the legal owner? I have the deeds with me. Perfect. We are sending a unit. Be there in 15 minutes to identify yourself. I will be there. I hung up for the second time. My hands were not trembling. My heart was beating with force, but with a steady rhythm. I did not feel doubt. I did not feel fear. I felt something I had not felt in weeks, power. I started the car and drove it slowly toward my house. I parked it in the driveway, partially blocking the access. Let them see that I had arrived. Let them know that the owner had returned. I got out of the car with my purse hanging from my shoulder. Inside, I carried the deeds to the house, my official ID, the receipts of all the payments I had made this week. Evidence. I walked toward the entrance. The valet parking attendant saw me arrive and intercepted me with a professional smile. Good evening, ma'am. Are you coming to the event? I need to verify if you are on the list of... I am the owner of this house. I interrupted him with a firm voice, and I do not need to be on any list. His smile froze. Oh, I will let Mrs. Valerie know that. It is not necessary. She is going to find out very soon. I walked past him and entered my property. The music was pounding. Laughter filled every corner. The smell of expensive food and mixed perfumes floated in the air. Nobody saw me enter. Everyone was too busy celebrating. I stood there on the threshold of my own house, watching 120 strangers enjoying what Ernest and I built with blood, sweat, and tears. And then I heard the sirens. First distant, then closer. The music was so loud that almost nobody noticed them at first, but I did. I smiled for the first time in days because the sirens were not coming to interrupt a party. They were coming to return what was mine. The blue and red lights appeared first. They cut through the night like neon lightning reflecting in the windows of my house, on the dark water of the lake, in the glasses of champagne that people held. The music kept playing. Nobody had noticed anything yet. I remained standing next to the main door with the purse hanging from my shoulder and my heart beating like a war drum. 2 patrol cars arrived first, then the white SUV of the fire marshal. That is when people started to turn around. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Someone turned down the volume of the music. I saw Valerie turn sharply toward the entrance, her face transforming from joy to confusion in seconds. Ryan was next to her, glass in hand, with that expression of what is happening that he wore when something escaped his control. 4 police officers got out of the patrol cars. 2 men from the fire marshal's office came out of the SUV with clipboards and flashlights. The sergeant, a man of about 50, uniform, impeccable, serious expression, walked directly toward me as if he knew exactly who was the one who had called. "Good evening. Are you Mrs. Linda Solis?" "Yes, sir," I answered with a firm voice. "I made the report." Valerie arrived running from the garden heels, clicking against the stone floor. Her face was undone. "What is happening? Why is the police here?" she asked with a shrill voice. The sergeant looked at her briefly before turning back to me. "Mrs. Solis, can you show me identification and documents that prove you are the owner of this property?" I opened my purse with deliberate calm. I took out my driver's license. Then the folder with the house deeds. The sergeant reviewed them carefully. He compared my name on the license with the name on the deeds. He nodded. "Everything is in order. You are the legal owner." He looked toward the garden full of people. "And are these people here with your consent?" "No," I said, and the word came out like a shot. The silence that followed was absolute, as if someone had pressed pause on the world. "That is a lie," shouted Valerie. "She lent us the house. She helped us with everything. Tell him Ryan." My son appeared behind her with his face pale as paper. He looked at me with pleading eyes. "Mom, what are you doing? Recovering what is mine?" I replied, without getting upset. "Ma'am." The sergeant maintained the professional tone. "Did you give verbal permission for this event?" "I withdrew it," I declared. "An hour ago, I called to inform that I was revoking any verbal permission given, and never at any moment did I give written authorization for them to hold an event of this magnitude on my property." "But you paid for everything," Valerie howled. "The tents, the flowers, everything." "Exactly," I said with deadly calm. "I paid, I worked, I prepared my house, and you excluded me from the celebration. You told me I did not fit the profile of the event." Murmurs started among the guests. Cell phones came out of purses and pockets. People were starting to record. Ryan took a step toward me with his hands extended. "Mom, please do not do this. Let's talk, but not here, not like this." "Not like this," I repeated. "How did you want me to do it? Ryan, waiting for you to decide to include me in my own house, waiting for you to treat me like something more than the cleaning lady. It is not fair." Valerie approached with clenched fists. "I worked months organizing this. It is my birthday in my house." I interrupted her. "Which furthermore," I took another paper out of my purse, "you presented to the county as your personal residence." I showed the document I had found, the one that had her name as the responsible owner. The sergeant took it and read it with an increasingly serious expression. "Ma'am," he said to Valerie, "is it true that you presented yourself as the owner of this property to the municipal authorities?" Valerie stammered, No, it is just that it was easier for the paperwork." "That is making a false statement," declared the sergeant. "It is a crime." "It is not a crime. It is a misunderstanding." Valerie started to cry, tears of mascara running down her perfectly made-up cheeks. The men from the fire marshal's office approached at that moment. "Sergeant, we inspected the facilities," one of them reported. "There are more than 100 people in a space without the required permits. There are not enough fire extinguishers. The electrical connections are temporary and dangerous. The emergency exit is blocked by one of the tents." "Do you have a fire marshal permit for this event?" the sergeant asked Valerie. She shook her head, sobbing. "The event must be suspended immediately," ruled the man from the fire marshal. "And a citation for infraction will be issued. The fine is $2,500. $2,500. I saw Valerie wobble. Ryan had to hold her by the arm. "No, we do not have that money," she whispered. "Besides," continued the sergeant, turning toward the guests, "if the owner of the property requests that everyone leave, you must do so immediately. Otherwise, you would be in a situation of criminal trespassing." Some guests were already packing their things. Others were taking out cell phones, calling Ubers and taxis. The murmur grew. "This is going to be all over social media," I heard someone whisper. "Is that the mother-in-law? God, how embarrassing." I knew something smelled fishy when she said it was her house. Valerie heard everything, her perfect party, her Instagram celebration, her moment of glory crumbling in real time. "Mrs. Solis." The sergeant addressed me. "Do you wish to press charges for trespassing?" I looked at Ryan. My son had tears in his eyes, not of regret, but of rage, of shame. "Mom, please," he begged with a broken voice. "Do not do this to us. Do not do this to us." Not even now did he assume responsibility. It was still me who was doing something bad. "I am not going to press charges," I said finally, "but I want everyone to leave. Now." The sergeant nodded and turned toward the crowd. "You heard the owner. The event is canceled. You have 15 minutes to clear the property." Chaos broke out, people running toward the entrance, heels breaking on the gravel, men helping women get into cars, the DJ disconnecting his equipment hurriedly, flashes of cell phones everywhere. This was going to be on TikTok before midnight. Valerie collapsed into one of the chairs, sobbing uncontrollably. Her friends approached to comfort her, shooting me looks of pure hatred. Ryan remained standing in the middle of the garden, watching it all collapse, and I stayed next to the door of my house, watching as 120 strangers marched off my property. A police officer approached Valerie. "Ma'am, I need you to accompany me to the station. We have to file a report regarding the falsification on the municipal document." "No, please." Valerie clung to Ryan's arm. "It was a mistake, a misunderstanding. That will be determined by the district attorney," replied the officer with a neutral tone. Ryan finally reacted. He turned toward me with an expression of fury I had never seen on him. "Are you happy?" he shouted. "Is this what you wanted, to destroy my wife's life, to humiliate us in front of everyone?" His voice cut across the garden. Those who had not yet left stopped to look. I walked toward him slowly, with each step feeling the weight of 67 years of being a mother. I stopped inches from his face. "No, Ryan," I said with a low but firm voice. "I did not destroy anything. You two did it all by yourselves when you decided that I was not worth even a seat at the table in my own house." It was her birthday, her special day. And what am I? A stranger. An employee you hire when you need something. You are my mother? You are supposed to support me? Support you, yes. Let myself be trampled on. No. The tears finally left my eyes, but not from pain, from liberation. Your father worked himself to death so we could have this house, and I took care of it like gold for 3 years. And what did you do? Use it as an Instagram stage, present it as yours. Erase me from my own life. Mom, no. I raised my hand. I do not want to hear you anymore. Go take your wife, and when you are ready to speak like adults, like people who have respect, you look for me. Are you kicking me out? I am exercising my right as owner to decide who is in my house. The last blow. The definitive one. Ryan looked at me with a mixture of pain, rage, and something else, something that seemed dangerously close to hate. He took Valerie by the arm and lifted her from the chair. "Let's go," he told her. As they walked away toward their car, Valerie turned to shoot me one last look full of venom. "This is not going to stay like this," she hissed. "You are going to pay for this." I smiled. For the first time all night, I smiled for real. I already paid Honey $5,000. Now it is your turn. 10 minutes later, the last car disappeared down the gravel road. The sound of the engines faded until only the silence of the lake remained interrupted, occasionally by the song of the crickets. My house was mine again. The police finished taking statements. The sergeant handed me a copy of the report. "Mrs. Solis, you did the right thing," he told me with respect. "Many people let family abuse them for fear of ending up alone, but you defended what is yours with dignity." Dignity. That word resonated in my chest like a bell. "Thank you, Sergeant. If the lady who signed the fake document does not present herself voluntarily at the station tomorrow, we will have to go look for her. It is a serious matter." I nodded. Part of me felt a pang of guilt, but I squashed it quickly. Valerie had chosen this path when she decided to falsify documents. The officers left. The ones from the fire marshal's office, too, after taking photographs of the irregular facilities and promising me they would send the fine by certified mail. $2,500 in the name of Valerie Martinez, event organizer. I was left alone in the garden. The white tents were still there, ghostly under the moonlight. The tables with their linen tablecloths, the centerpieces with coral roses already starting to wilt, the little lights in the trees still on. All that effort, all that money, all that work, for nothing or maybe for everything. I walked among the empty tables, glasses of champagne half finished, plates with abandoned food, crumpled napkins, the remains of a celebration that died before being born. I sat in one of the chairs and looked toward the lake. The water reflected the moon like a silver mirror. This was the place where Ernest and I came to dream, where we planned a future that he did not get to live. I took out my phone. I had 17 missed calls from Ryan, 12 WhatsApp messages. I opened them with trembling hands. "Mom, please answer. We need to talk. I cannot believe what you did. Valerie is devastated. She has to go to the station tomorrow. Do you know what that means? Are you happy? You destroyed her birthday. You destroyed everything. I do not know if I can forgive you for this." I read the last message 3 times. "I do not know if I can forgive you for this. My son. My only son. The boy I raised while Ernest worked double shifts. The teenager who asked me for advice for his first kiss. The man I hugged when his father died. He did not know if he could forgive me." The tears arrived then, silent, unstoppable. Not tears of regret, tears of mourning. For the relationship that had just fractured, for the son I had perhaps lost, for the innocence of believing that family love was unconditional. I stayed there sitting until past midnight, crying among the empty tents. At 2 a.m, my phone rang. An unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Hello." "Mrs. Linda." It was a female voice, young, hesitant. "I am Monica, the event coordinator. The one who had been there when Valerie excluded me from the list. Tell me." "I just wanted to tell you that what you did today was brave." She paused. I knew something was wrong. When Valerie told me that you were not invited, I felt it was unfair. But I said nothing because, well, it was not my place. "Why are you calling me now?" Because I have been organizing events for 2 years and I have seen many things, but I had never seen someone erase a family member like that. And I wanted you to know that not all of us think you did something bad. I closed my eyes. A stranger was giving me the comfort that my own family could not give me. Thank you, Monica. And one other thing. Her voice became more serious. Valerie owes me $800 for my work today, and I do not think she's going to pay me. So if you need a witness for anything legal, you can count on me. $800 more. Valerie had left debts everywhere. I will keep it in mind. Thank you for calling. We hung up. I stared at the phone. After that, I opened the calculator and started to add up. What I spent $5,000. Photographer $2,000, DJ $1,000, premium bar $2,500, catering service $4,000, coordinator $800, fire marshal fine $2,500, total $17,800, nearly $18,000 on a party that lasted less than 2 hours, and Valerie had no way to pay any of that. I knew it with certainty because I remembered what I had discovered days ago. Her credit card debts, her Instagram lifestyle financed with air. My son was married to a financial time bomb. Sunday dawned cloudy. I got up at 6, aching from the sleepless night. The garden was still full of the remains of the party. Tents, tables, chairs, decorations. I hired a cleaning service from town. 4 ladies arrived and worked for 6 hours. When they finished, my house looked like before again. Empty, quiet mine. I paid them $200 for the extraordinary work. They left grateful commenting in whispers about the party that the police canceled. It was already news in town. At 3 in the afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, it was a number I did know. My cousin Ruth, who lived in the city. Linda. My friend just told me she saw a canceled party in Lakeview on TikTok. Was it at your house? That is how fast news travels now. Yes, Ruthie, it was my house. Oh, cousin, and is it true that your daughter-in-law pretended to be the owner? It is true. What a barbarity, and what did Ryan say? Ryan is angry with me. There was a long pause on the other end. Linda, listen to me well. Ruth's voice became serious. You did the right thing. I know it hurts. I know he is your son. But if you do not set boundaries, now that girl is going to take even the air you breathe. I know, cousin. Do you need anything? Do you want me to come over? No, I need to be alone for a while. Okay, but you call me if you need me, okay? Even if it is to cry, that is what family is for. Family. What a complicated word. Monday morning, I received a call from Mr. Oakley. Mrs. Linda, I heard what happened. Are you okay? Surviving Mr. Oakley. I want to inform you of something important. Mrs. Valerie contacted me. My heart skipped a beat. For what? To ask me if she could sue you for moral damages and economic losses. The blood drained to my feet. And what did you tell her? I told her the truth that she has no case, that you acted within your rights as owner, that she was the one who committed irregularities by presenting herself as owner to the authorities, and that if she insists on continuing down that legal path, things can get much worse for her. How much worse? The fake document can imply anything from an administrative fine to a criminal process for false statements. And if you also add the patrimonial damage for the unauthorized use of someone else's property, she could face a civil lawsuit as well. I do not want to sue her, I said quickly. She is my son's wife. I know. But she needs to understand the gravity of what she did. That is why I recommended that she better look for a settlement with you. Extrajudicial, civilized. Settlement. That she pays you what you spent, that she signs a document recognizing that the house is yours and that she will never again present herself as owner, and that she offers formal apologies. Apologies. From Valerie. I do not think that will happen, Mr. Oakley. I do not either, he admitted, but at least now she knows that messing with you has consequences. We hung up. I sat on the terrace with a cup of coffee. The lake was calm. Birds flew low, skimming the water. Ernest and I used to sit here on Sunday mornings planning the future. When Ryan has children, he would say, they are going to love coming here. They are going to swim in the lake. They are going to run in the garden. This house is going to be full of the laughter of grandchildren. Grandchildren that perhaps I would never know now. Had it been worth it, I looked around. My house, my garden, my lake. Yes, it had been worth every damn second.